Hey everyone, it's Fran. A lot about this the last week, and I've been talking about several clients about the whole calorie in, calorie out thing, our food industry, what they put out there for us that's supposed to help us lose weight, get healthy, feel great, be in the zone as far as calorie burning goes, as far as digestive system goes. So I'm going to lay it out there for you. I mean, they're just on a massive scale lying to us. They are. I mean, the food industries are out there. They need to make money, right? So if we're looking at a model like the old school calorie in, calorie out, right? Then if you want to reduce your body fat, or if you want to lose weight, then you reduce your caloric intake, and your caloric outtake exceeds your caloric intake. And then in the difference, therefore, you lose weight. And that's just false. Because imagine if you've already cut your calories in order to lose weight, and you're still at a position where you need to lose more weight, you'd have to cut your calories and continue to cut them to what? Down to zero? Like, where does it level off, right? So somewhere in the 90s and early 2000s, then they launched all of these foods that had fat-free, sugar-free, low fat, no fat, low calorie, half the sugar, half the fat, half the sodium, half the stuff, right? Because they're trying to get you to measure out just your caloric intake and not pay attention so much to the actual ingredients that's going into these food and beverages. So what's happening to the fat and the sugar and the sodium that they were taking out of all of these foods? They were supplementing it with ingredients that our body doesn't recognize. So we're talking about artificial sweeteners. We're talking about, think about the Sweet and Lows and Equals and Splendas and all that stuff. So it's aspartame. It's the sugar and the sweetener and the chemical compound that our body does not recognize. But if we continue to intake this ingredient, then our system kind of tells our brain like, oh, we must need this substance, right, for survival. So then it converts that substance into stored energy, glycogen, glucose, sugar stores in our fat cells. So actually eating things that are fat-free, low fat, no fat, low sugar, low sodium, things like that, they've basically extracted those things from the food naturally and then supplemented them with ingredients that our body and our brain does not recognize, but it will store as fat, or it will store in our fat cells, right? Reducing the likelihood of our fat being used as energy and then us losing our fat stores because we don't need them anymore. I hope that makes sense. That's what they're doing, okay? So then they take our sodas and they turn them into high fructose corn syrup, and then they turn those sodas into diet sodas, and then they turn those diet sodas into Coke Zeros and all that stuff. And it's like, wait a minute, but what did they implement instead of the calories? So we can't use a calories in, calories out model if we want to continue to lose weight, because you can't just continue to cut calories. You have to change something else. So you either have to detoxify your body, you have to go into whole food eating, clean eating, you have to go into an increased workout regimen, you have to change your fitness and strength training module, because you cannot cut calories any further. If you increase water and decrease calories any further, then your body will get to a state of survival and a state of just storing mode. So any calories that you do intake, because your body does not know if it's going to have enough energy or energy calories to outtake, then it's going to store those for survival, which is what we used to do decades and years and centuries ago when we didn't know when our next meal was coming. I mean, inherently as humans, right, we need to intake the calories that we outtake as far as energy, the calories that we use up. So We really need to be careful about not only the food that we're intaking, but really pay attention to all of the ingredients, because if we eat clean and we lose weight and we are healthy beings, then where does the food industry go from there? If we're not craving sugar and we're not addicted to all of these foods, then how do they make money if we're not using them anymore? So companies who, like Coca-Cola, let's just use the really big companies, right? So you can trace most of the sodas and juices and sports drinks, snacks. You can trace them all back to the same the same handful of companies, because they just purchased other companies so that they could so that they can get us to crave losing weight. We crave the foods that they're giving us, and then those foods actually make us gain weight, and then we seek out other brands from that company to lose weight again. And I mean, it's just this vicious cycle. So if we're not eating foods that were alive at one point and or had a mother, and we're reading nutrition facts, and we're trying to just strictly cut calories, or cut calories from carbs, or cut calories from fat, eventually you can't cut calories anymore. And you're going to get to a place where you plateau, and then you will start to gain weight again. So you have to end up changing something again. So think about every company, every brand, every industry. They are in business to make money. That's why they're in business. So they have to keep themselves in business. So then we as consumers need to just educate ourselves and make sure that we know as much as we can about calories in, calories out, the right nutrients to fuel our body and our food, so that we do not succumb to the temptations, the false advertising, or the marketing of these industries, and that we know for ourselves what's going to serve us, what's going to give us the right energy, the right nutrient intake, and what's going to sustain even our entire society into the future. So I hope that wasn't too much for Sunday night, but I did tell you guys that this channel was for like the no filter. So I mean, let's call them out, let's challenge them, let's force them to stop including ingredients that our body doesn't recognize, things that are just chemically infused, man-made, synthetic substances that our bodies don't recognize, and then intaking them enough over time actually causes our body to store them. So let's release those fat cells from the toxin buildup, and let's start fueling our body with good, real foods. Okay, so that's what I have for today. I'll see you guys next week. Bye.